The scene is becoming all too familiar across America tonight. At airports from JFK in New York to LAX in California, the terminals are filled with a quiet chaos. Long lines snake through immigration halls, moving at a glacial pace under the harsh fluorescent lights. Weary travelers, some who have been in the air for over 20 hours, slump in plastic chairs or lean against walls, their faces etched with confusion and an exhaustion that goes deeper than just jet lag. Children cry, their small sobs lost in the vast, echoing spaces. This isn't the usual stress of travel. This is the face of uncertainty, a new and sudden reality for thousands. Suddenly the news breaks. It flashes across television screens mounted above the waiting areas, the bright red banners of breaking news alerts capturing every eye. The headlines are stark and unambiguous. Sweeping immigration ban enacted. U.S. halts entry from 12 nations. The date, June 9, 2025, is now seared into the minds of many as the day the rules changed overnight. The reports show archived footage from a previous administration, a powerful reminder of past policies. Former President Donald J. Trump is seen at a large desk, his signature bold and decisive as he signs an executive order, a visual that now symbolizes this new, sweeping legislation. The policy itself is as direct as the headlines suggest. It imposes an immediate and indefinite ban on entry for citizens from 12 specific countries. The official reasoning cites national security concerns, but the implementation has been swift and severe, leaving little room for interpretation or appeal. On screen, a map of the world glows, highlighting the 12 nations now cut off from the United States. They span across continents, a list that includes countries in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Flights already in the air when the ban was announced were ordered to turn back, leaving passengers stranded in a geopolitical no man's land. For those on the ground, the news transforms confusion into heartbreak. A young woman in Chicago clutches her phone, a video call from her mother frozen on the screen. Her mother was supposed to arrive this morning for the birth of her first grandchild. Now, she is stuck in an airport thousands of miles away, her visa suddenly invalid. A father in Houston stares blankly at a departure board filled with red canceled notices. His family was meant to join him this week, the final step in a years-long and entirely legal immigration process. Tonight that process is broken and his family is left behind. The impact of the new ban rippled outward from the airports, touching every corner of American society. It wasn't just about travelers, it was about families, communities, and the very fabric of daily life. In university towns from Boston to Berkeley, international students who had gone home for a short break now find themselves locked out, their education abruptly halted. Their scholarships, their research, their dreams of graduating from an American institution are now in jeopardy. They are not just names on a roster, they are vital parts of their academic communities, and their absence leaves a tangible void in classrooms and labs. The economic consequences are also becoming painfully clear. Skilled workers recruited by American companies for their unique expertise are now barred from entry. A tech firm in Seattle is missing a lead engineer for a critical project. A rural hospital in North Dakota is now without the specialist doctor it had waited over a year to hire. These are not abstract losses. They represent delayed projects, compromised patient care, and a sudden destabilizing blow to businesses that depend on global talent to innovate and compete. The ban, intended to protect, is now creating its own kind of disruption. Beyond the students and workers are the families torn apart by a stroke of a pen. Stories are emerging of spouses separated, of children unable to join their parents, of elderly parents who can no longer visit their children in the U.S. These are families who followed the rules, who waited patiently in line, who believed in the promise of a future together. Now, that promise has been broken. The emotional toll is immense, a quiet suffering playing out in homes across the country as people grapple with the devastating news that their loved ones are indefinitely out of reach. This policy has drawn a new line in the sand, dividing not just the world, but America itself. The debate rages on cable news and in political chambers, but the real division is felt on the streets. For some, the ban is a necessary measure for safety, a bold step to secure the nation's borders. For others, it is a betrayal of American values, a discriminatory act that punishes innocent people based on their country of origin. The nation is now locked in a fierce argument with itself, and the stakes could not be higher. As the sun set on the first day of the ban, the response moved from the digital world to the physical one. In cities across the nation, from the steps of federal buildings to the public squares of downtowns, crowds began to gather. The protests started small but grew quickly, fueled by a sense of outrage and a need to be heard. In New York City, thousands marched through the streets of Manhattan, their voices echoing between the skyscrapers. In Washington, D.C., a massive crowd assembled near the White House, their presence a direct challenge to the new policy enacted just blocks away. The signs they carried told the story in simple, powerful terms. Refugees are welcome here. No ban, no wall, let them in. Many signs were deeply personal, featuring photos of family members now affected by the ban. An elderly man held a picture of his grandchildren. A young woman held a sign with her fiancé's name. These were not anonymous protesters. They were mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers, standing up for the people they love. Their chants rose in unison, a chorus of defiance against a policy they see as unjust and un-American. But with protest came tension. Lines of police officers in riot gear stood as silent, imposing barriers, separating the demonstrators from government buildings. The atmosphere in some cities grew heavy, the air thick with the potential for confrontation. While most demonstrations remained peaceful, the underlying friction was undeniable. The police presence was a stark reminder of the government's authority, while the protesters' persistence was a testament to the power of civil dissent. It was a visual representation of the deep chasm that had opened up in the country. This is the human cost of the decree. It is measured in tears shed at airport arrival gates, in the empty desks in classrooms, and in the anxious energy on city streets. It is the sound of a phone call ending with no answers, the sight of a family portrait with a missing member, and the feeling of a community rising up to defend its values. For every official statement about security, there are 1,000 personal stories of loss and separation. It is a cost that cannot be calculated in dollars or statistics, but is felt deeply in the hearts of those left behind. As night falls completely, the image that lingers is a powerful one. The Statue of Liberty, standing silent in New York Harbor, is cast in long, deep shadows. Her torch, a symbol of enlightenment and a beacon for generations of immigrants, seems to shine a little less brightly tonight. The mother of exiles who once offered a golden door to the tired, the poor, and the huddled masses, now stands watch over a nation that has just locked some of its doors. The symbolism is impossible to ignore, a poignant counterpoint to the day's events. The central question hangs in the air, debated in quiet homes and shouted at loud rallies. Is this new ban truly about safety, or is it about something else? The administration insists these measures are critical to protecting the American people from potential threats. They argue that a pause is necessary to review and strengthen vetting procedures. Supporters of the ban echo these concerns, prioritizing national security above all else. They see this as a prudent and necessary step in an uncertain world, a difficult but essential decision to keep the country safe. However, for millions of others, both in the US and around the world, the policy feels less like a security measure and more like an act of discrimination. They point to the fact that the banned countries are predominantly Muslim, reviving painful debates from the past. They argue that collectively punishing entire populations for the actions of a few is not only unjust, but also ineffective. To them, this is not a shield. It is a wall built from fear and prejudice, one that tarnishes America's reputation as a welcoming haven for the oppressed. Ultimately, this policy is more than just a law or a regulation. It is a message. It sends a signal to the rest of the world about who is welcome in America and who is not. And it sends a message to Americans themselves about the kind of country they want to be. Tonight, as the nation grapples with the immediate fallout, the stranded travelers, the separated families, the angry protests, it is also facing a deeper question about its own identity. A shadow has fallen, and it stretches far beyond the harbor. It touches the very soul of the nation,